Okay, so picture this. You're walking down a busy city street, maybe like London or New York, and you see movement, a flash of movement in the shadows. It's a rat, and it makes you, you know,
Sure.
shiver, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But what if I told you that these creatures, these rats, often seen as symbols of filth, disease, that they're more like us than we might want to admit?
It's true. We often dismiss them as just pests, but their story is surprisingly intertwined with our own. In fact, after humans and house mice, brown rats are the most successful mammalian colonizers of Earth.
Really? Wow. So they're everywhere.
They are.
That's pretty impressive for a creature we try so hard to avoid. So today we're going deep into the world of the brown rat, using this NPR episode, The Hidden Life of Rats, as our guide, and we'll uncover their fascinating history, their complex relationship with humans, and even their role in scientific advancements.
And it's a journey that takes us back millions of years to their origins in East Asia, likely between northern China and Mongolia.
So they've been around for a while. What were they doing all that time before they decided to move in with us?
Well, for millions of years, they lived their lives largely separate from humans. But then something monumental happened. The dawn of agriculture.
Okay.
Humans began storing grain. And suddenly, these resourceful rodents, they had a new and abundant food source.
We kind of rolled out the red carpet for them, didn't we?
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
And they wasted no time in taking advantage of the opportunity. As humans spread across the globe, brown rats hitched rides on ships, becoming expert stowaways during the age of exploration.
So they basically followed us wherever we went.
Exactly. And they were incredibly successful at it. They outcompeted other rat species, like the black rat, establishing themselves in port cities around the world. From there, they followed human migration patterns inland, becoming a truly global species.
And I bet this global takeover wasn't always a peaceful one, was it?
You're right. Take Victorian London, for example.
Mhm.
The city was overrun with rats, and they became a major public health concern.
I can only imagine. So how did people in those days deal with such a massive rat problem?
Well, they had rat catchers. These individuals became quite famous, using a variety of methods to trap and eliminate rats. One of the most renowned was Jack Black. He actually caught rats by hand, supplying them for both pest control and the growing fancy rat pet trade.
Weight by hand. That's both impressive and a little terrifying. So even back then, there was this complex relationship with rats, wasn't there? On one hand, they were seen as pests, but on the other, there was this grudging respect, even a fascination with them.
Absolutely. And this duality continues today. We try to eradicate them, yet we also use them in scientific research that has led to countless medical breakthroughs. It's a complicated relationship, to say the least.
But speaking of complicated, we can't talk about rats without mentioning the work of John B. Calhoun. This is where things take a bit of a darker turn, isn't it?
It does. Calhoun was a scientist in the 1960s who wanted to study the effects of overcrowding. He created these experiments with rats, giving them everything they needed: food, water, nesting materials, but limiting their space.
So he essentially created a rat utopia, but with one crucial limitation.
Exactly. And as the rat populations grew, Calhoun observed some disturbing behaviors. They became aggressive, withdrew socially, and even experienced breakdowns in mating and care for their young. He called this the behavioral sink, this sort of pathological togetherness where they were drawn to the crowd, despite the negative consequences.
So it was like this overcrowding triggered a sort of societal collapse, even though they had all their basic needs met.
That was his initial conclusion, and it really captured the public's attention. But it's important to note that he later revised his findings. He suggested that well-designed environments could actually mitigate those negative impacts.
So it wasn't just about population density, but also about the quality of the space.
Precisely, and this has implications for how we design our own cities and living spaces.
Wow, this is all incredibly thought-provoking. I'm already seeing rats in a completely different light.
You know, it's fascinating how Calhoun's work, though, focused on rats, sparked a broader conversation about human societies and the potential pitfalls of unchecked population growth.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Hmm.
If rats experience these issues in overcrowded conditions, could similar things happen in human populations, even if basic needs are met?
That's a question that sociologists and urban planners grapple with even today. But as we delve deeper into the rat story, we see that their impact extends far beyond these somewhat unsettling experiments.
Right, you're talking about their role in science, right?
Exactly. Rats have played a crucial role in medical research. contributing to breakthroughs in our understanding and treatment of a wide range of diseases. Their genetic similarities to humans make them ideal test subjects.
It's quite ironic, isn't it? We often view them as pests, yet they've been instrumental in saving countless human lives.
It certainly highlights the complex ethical considerations involved in scientific research. We benefit from their sacrifice, and it's important to acknowledge that and ensure their humane treatment.
Absolutely, but their impact isn't limited to the lab. Let's go back to those Victorian rat catchers for a moment. You mentioned that they supplied rats for the pet trade, which seems surprising given our generally negative perception of them.
It might seem odd, but rats can actually make wonderful companions. They're intelligent social creatures that can form strong bonds with humans. In fact, the tradition of keeping fancy rats as pets continues today, with a thriving community of rat enthusiasts around the world.
So beneath that somewhat rough exterior lies a creature capable of affection and companionship. Who knew?
It's a reminder that our perceptions of animals are often shaped by limited perspectives. We tend to focus on their perceived usefulness or threat to us, overlooking their inherent value and the complexities of their lives.
That's a great point. It makes me think about all the ways we interact with the natural world, often without truly understanding the creatures we share it with.
Exactly. And rats, despite their often malign reputation, offer us a valuable opportunity to challenge those preconceived notions. They force us to confront our fears, expand our understanding, and consider the interconnectedness of all living things.
This has been an incredibly eye-opening conversation. I'm starting to see rats in a whole new light, appreciating their resilience, adaptability, and yes, even their contributions to our well-being.
And that's what's so fascinating about taking a deep dive into any subject. It allows us to see the familiar in a new light and to appreciate the intricate tapestry of life on Earth.
It's amazing how much we've uncovered about these creatures, creatures we often try to ignore or even eradicate. But as we've seen, their story is much more complex than we might think.
What's interesting is they've become the symbol of urban decay and societal anxieties, almost like a living embodiment of the challenges we face in our modern world.
It's true. They represent this fear of overpopulation and disease and this loss of control over our environment. But maybe that's part of what makes them so fascinating, right? They force us to confront these uncomfortable realities that we'd rather avoid.
Exactly. They're a reminder that we can't just sweep our problems under the rug, whether it's dealing with literal infestations or addressing the larger societal issues they represent. Rats. They force us to face them head on.
And that brings us back to the question of how we coexist with them. We've talked about how they've adapted to our cities, thriving despite our best efforts to control them.
Right. And traditional methods like poison and traps, they're often not enough. What's needed is a more nuanced approach that takes into account their behavior and the complexities of urban ecosystems.
So what does that look like in practice?
Well, some cities are using innovative approaches like dry ice to suffocate rats in their burrows. Others are focusing on disrupting their food sources by improving sanitation and waste management.
That makes a lot of sense. If we can make our cities less hospitable to rats, they'll be less likely to thrive.
Precisely. It's about understanding their needs and using that knowledge to manage their populations in a way that's both effective and humane.
It seems like there's a lot we can learn from rats, not just about their biology and behavior, but also about ourselves and our relationship with the natural world.
Absolutely. Their story is a reflection of our own. Their journey from East Asia to global domination. It mirrors human migration and expansion, their ability to thrive in our midst. It speaks to their resilience and adaptability. And their contributions to science remind us that even creatures we fear can hold the key to our well-being.
This deep dive has truly been an eye-opening experience. I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on these often maligned creatures.
And that's the beauty of exploration and discovery. It allows us to challenge our assumptions, expand our understanding, and appreciate the interconnectedness of all living things.
Well said. And on that note, we'd like to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of rats. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the deep dive for more fascinating explorations of the world around us.
Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.